Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony. Ever wonder how to calculate your true cost of financing and how to fit the price of financing into your business and pricing for products and services? In Synchrony's new and improved Toolbox website, you can easily calculate your cost of credit, view educational videos, and learn more about Synchrony's digital tools. Simply go to toolbox.syf.com to explore and learn more.
Kristina, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I really am glad to see you. For those who've not had the pleasure of meeting you or seeing you in an expo, can you kind of share with everyone your name, your company name, and where you guys are located?
Sure. My name is Kristina Perkins. I work for Metro Electric, and we're located in Romeo, Michigan, which is about 40 miles north of Detroit.
Very good. Now, is that mostly is that suburban Detroit, or are you more? Is it more country, or what's that area like?
We're a little more rural where we're located at. We do service a little bit of the city outside of the city, but we're a little bit more rural.
Very good. Very good. Now, we're talking for a great reason. You guys have been doing really well, and you're really excited about this year. I know that. This is your chance to brag. Kind of share with everyone what you're projecting to do at the end of the year in terms of sales and your two divisions that you kind of keep an eye on, your residential and your generators.
Sure. So our residential service, we've never broke $1 million. This year we're adding 3 additional techs to our 2, so we'll have 5 techs. So I know we're definitely going to break $1 million, and I am super excited about that. As far as our generators, we're steady. We were at a little bit over 4 million last year. I have no doubt we're going to go over 5 this year.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great. You guys also have the commercial side, big, bustling, growing business. It's super excited to talk to you about all of it. Before we get into kind of the day-to-day of what you do and make all the magic happen, I love to learn people's stories. So let's start with the company story, because I know it started before you started, but you've been there 20 years, so you've been there a long time. So talk about the genesis of Metro, how it got started, and got rolling.
So the owner, Joe Brewer, took this over from his father, Arnie, who started before him, and he was into radiant heating and electric. So, when we had sort of the downturn and the economic back when, it dissolved a little bit. And Joe, the owner now, went to engineering school and took it over in 1997 and kind of built it up from there. He's done a great job.
Yeah, so it was much smaller when he first took it over in the late 90s.
Yeah. There was only a couple people. Yeah, a couple people when he took it over, and then grew from there. And now we're company wide about 80 employees.
Oh, that's great. That's what a great story. Now you come along early in the journey, 20 years. I mean, talk about how you started. Well, first of all, before you got there, what's your background? What would you have a background in?
Before I worked here, I worked for a builder. So I did a lot of accounting, and towards the end, I did a little bit of project management. Okay, and so I was just looking for something a little bit different. Answered an ad in the paper. I don't know I didn't know anybody, so I answered an ad in the paper for an office helper, and that's what started it. And I just came in and tried to learn as much as I possibly could, and given any opportunity that they would give me, learn more.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, maybe share with everyone what you're doing today, because you said where you work, but you didn't explain you're the vice president now. So you've definitely grown within the company.
Yes, I've definitely grown with the company. Matt, I became vice president about 5-6 years ago. And so like I said, I initially was the office helper. I helped out with accounting, lighting, project management, a little bit on the commercial side. Helped out about 8-9 years ago when we decided to do the residential and generators. Joe, the owner, decided to start that division up. I helped a little bit facilitate it. There was another manager here at the time who since retired, and last couple of years I inherited it. So now I'm managing a lot of the day-to-day stuff. Actually, I'm managing all of the day-to-day. We have a generator manager that is helping facilitate all of our generators, and so I'm helping him a little bit, guiding him. He's a little bit newer. Running the guys on the day-to-day, running the call center, just the overall operations.
Yeah. Got a lot of hats. A lot of
A
hats.
lot of hats. A lot of hats.
I want to talk about it where your guys' path crossed with ours, a certain path, and Success Group International. I based on our database, it shows you guys joined kind of the middle of 2013. I
Okay.
think that's when you really launched your residential service.
Yeah, definitely. That's when we did. I know Joe and Bill, who used to be here before he retired, they went to a profit day.
Yeah.
And then they went to EP and
Okay.
thought this might be helpful to us. We in our downtime, we might be able to make this work, and kind of fostered it
Yeah.
from there. It took us a little while to get going.
Sure. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
considering where you guys were, in the late 90s I mean, the company's really grown.
Yes.
Were you guys doing generators at that point, or has that been a newer division as well?
We started generators when we joined SGI with the residential.
Okay.
We were slow at getting started, and
Yeah.
actually Joe, the owner, used to go out and do quotes, which is funny now because we've grown so much. But he
Yeah.
really did. He went out and he fostered it and kind of helped, create the process of it. And we took a couple of our commercial guys and asked them to help out to get us started.
Yeah. Before we kind of talk about how you guys made changes and started to evolve the business, I mean, 2013 was a little after the downturn, but I know, that affected a lot of electrical contractors. 'Cause
Mhm.
I've been here about 20 years, so I've seen all sorts of ups and downs. How did you guys survive that? I mean, was it just all hands on deck doing everything you could? I mean, especially commercial large jobs took a beating. So was that kind of the
They
reason
did.
for going? Yeah.
Our commercials has stayed pretty strong. I will say that we do K
Yeah.
through 12 buildings, so that never seems to go away. So our projects are a little bit, when we secure work, they're usually about 1 to 3 years. So that's really helped foster the residential and help us getting started.
Okay.
Kind of funded it, to be quite honest, to get us started and get us moving.
Yeah. We talk to people all the time that are trying to start new divisions, say they're in HVAC and they want to get an electrical or vice versa. And one of the big things, you got to have some capital, right? You got to have some cash because that stuff's not free, trucks and materials and all that stuff. Uh-oh, clap their hands. There we go. We just had a lighting issue for those listening. But anyways, well, very good. So maybe, I mean, I don't know how, again, you weren't going to EP and Profit Day in those early days, but do you remember what were some of the biggest challenges or things that had to happen when you were launching that residential division kind of in the, what was that, 2013, 2014? I mean, because there's a lot of people listening like, I'd like to get in electrical, but, what does that look like?
It was hard. I mean, it was hard, going from commercial to, and then coming to service and dealing with customers. We don't really have that, with the commercial side. So trying to market, we've never had to market before. So the marketing,
Yeah.
just the process overall, just changing, how we thought we should do things and being open to that. It was
Right.
it was hard. Took a lot of work. I think it was a little bit easier because we started from scratch. We weren't changing what we were currently doing.
Right.
We weren't going into homes, so we were, it was a little bit easier, I think,
Yeah.
than having to change our whole process.
Yeah. Do you remember, did you guys just take one or two commercial technicians that were willing to try it out? Or, yeah, how did you pick those
did.
lucky guys to get into it? Yeah.
We asked. I mean, we have really our employees. Most of our employees have been here 10, 15 plus years, so they're pretty. They're very loyal and dedicated. And we asked if anybody would be interested. We had a couple guys sign up for it. We had 2 for generators, and one of those generator guys also said they would do service. So they were very open to it and helped build it all. To be quite honest.
Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony. Ever wonder how to calculate your true cost of financing and how to fit the price of financing into your business and pricing for products and services? In Synchrony's new and improved Toolbox website, you can easily calculate your cost of credit, view educational videos, and learn more about Synchrony's digital tools. Simply go to toolbox.syf.com to explore and learn more.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much you were doing back then, but like building, straightforward pricing, and all of a sudden, like you said, you're in the customer's home and talking about pricing and building options. And it's quite quite different, the business model.
It's
So
Yes, yes, it's very different. And yes, I definitely was involved, not as much as I am now, but
sure.
yeah, fostering the guys and helping them, with that communication. Coming from commercial, you don't have to communicate besides with who
Right.
you're working with. So yeah, they did a great job. The call center, I was answering calls.
Yeah.
I learned how to answer the calls, what we need to be doing, and kind of started that process as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now did those guys, did they stick with the residential for a while,
No,
or
they're
did they
back
go,
at
okay,
commercial now.
they're back? Yeah, I mean, I it's the I want to reveal the warts a little bit just so people understand. It's not always an easy process, right? It takes some time to find guys that want to do residential or want to do generators. It's same thing dealing with mostly homeowners. I'm assuming a lot of your generators are sold to. So how did you start finding those right kind of guys that could talk to homeowners? What was
Well,
that process like?
um, you know, back in those days, I mean, really just advertising on Indeed, and we were lucky enough to get a couple guys, that would come in, and we were able to train. Our other guys were able to help train those new guys in it. And then as we kind of grew on the generator side, those two guys who went back to commercial came over and still helped us out. And actually, one of those gentlemen within the last year is now doing our generator management. So
Okay.
he kind of came back
Yeah.
to help out and with that process. But
Sure.
more or less now, we actually have one guy that we love to death. He ended up moving, and he
Oh,
works
yeah.
for another he works for another Certain Path member now. So I'm
Is that
glad
right?
to
That happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I'm glad that he found somewhere else with, that he was already taught, the process, and he was able to go somewhere else and utilize it too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
now we're using Hunter Recruitment. I know
Oh,
that
okay.
we are
Very
with Certain
good.
Path.
Yeah.
We've
Talk
had
about that
great
experience.
success.
Yeah. So what's that been like? So you just say we're looking for, this type of position, and then start sending me some resumes, or so maybe talk about how you're using people that don't.
So Hunter Recruitment, we kind of give them what we're looking for. We go through, they've helped us find electricians, generator technicians, office staff. So we kind of go over what we're looking for. They're putting ads out on Indeed, and they've also set up on our website. We use, which is incorporates into Jazz HR, so we're able to monitor what's coming in, as well
Okay.
as they're monitoring it. They're really screening everybody of
Okay.
what we're looking for, and they're pushing them forward to us. Hey, this one's a good candidate. Take a look at this person in particular, and they set it all up. They really set up the interview. They follow up with the person who's coming in, making sure that everything went well, what they thought of it.
Yeah.
We also are doing geofencing with them, so
Oh,
we're
great.
able,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're able to hopefully get some ads out that way too.
That's fantastic. Now, when you're talking to them about what positions you're looking to add, do they say, hey, this is the type of people we're looking for, or do you kind of let them go ahead, and because that's what they do, recruiting? But how in depth do you get about the type of people?
With our technicians, I make sure that they know that we need someone who can communicate well.
Okay.
That it's going to be, that has some sort of customer service background, preferably. If we can get that, it's hard with electricians.
Yeah.
But we definitely kind of go through what we're looking for, the type of person we're looking for. Here, we're looking for a lot of guys who are going to be honest, trustworthy. We make that very clear up front
Yeah.
when we tell them who we're looking for. Same thing with the office, making sure that they have that good customer service as well. And they screen up. They're the ones talking to them, and they're screening them and kind of going through what our core values are.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So once they book the interview, is that individual interviewing with you, or with this, who's doing the interviewing at that point at your office?
I'm doing all of the interviewing, and then on our electricians, I might have, or even generator techs, I might have Joe sit in if it's something that I think that maybe I might need a second opinion on,
Sure.
and then we kind of go from there. They follow up with us, and we either put together an offer letter for that person, and we just copy Hunter so that they can go ahead and follow up as well as us.
Yeah, sure. Well, you guys have been growing a lot, so I know, or I'm assuming you've been interviewing a lot of people. So
Yeah.
in your experience, what are some things you always do in interviews, questions you ask that kind of, is there certain body language you're looking for? You know how you feel after an interview, like someone or not. What are those cues that you keep an eye out for during interviews?
Well, I don't ask. We do have a sheet that we do go through that we try to, but I do let everybody know that it's just a conversation. I want to get to know that person. I don't, I don't want to have to fire off a ton of questions to them. I like to have that conversation flow a little bit. I'd like to know about them, what they like to do in their personal time. That kind of tells me a little bit about that person too. Um, mm, Sorry, we're on motion here.
That's okay.
um, So, we're asking about, what motivates them,
Yeah.
what they're looking for, what type of company that they're looking for to work
Yeah.
with. I tell them a lot about our company so that they know what to expect from us, what a typical day is going to be here. I also ask them what a typical day for them looks like currently, so I can get an idea of, what type of work ethic I can tell by what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if they're home at 1 o'clock every day, maybe not someone that's working.
Yeah. Yeah. And how they're communicating. How are they answering those questions?
Right.
There is one question that I do ask that people say that kind of stumps them. I ask, what has been your biggest failure and how do you overcome that?
Ooh, yeah.
So, because failure, it may be a failure to you, but it's a learning tool. So how did you overcome that, and how did that affect you?
That's great. I bet you see some sweating at that point.
I do.
That's good though. You want to see people react with stress. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But I think that's important that people can have that, that strength to overcome whatever the failure might be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see. You said you hired one or two electricians this year, and then remind me how many you've hired just recently.
So we've had two electricians. We have to have licensed electricians here in Michigan. So we've had two for forever.
Yeah.
And we just hired three more. So
Okay.
long time waiting. I'm very excited, in the process of training. I have one that just got into a truck maybe a few weeks ago. He's doing a great job. And then I have two more that my goal is to have out in the next 2 weeks.
Very good. And then do you have apprentices in addition to that are riding
do.
with your other? Okay, very good. Now, do you have the two established electricians? Do they each have an apprentice, or is there one? Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, so we try to pair you up with an apprentice. We want every guy to have an apprentice because we grow within. We're teaching them on the job training. We have a full apprenticeship program. So the idea is, once we get these guys out of the truck, or in their own truck, I should say, we'll send them with a little bit more of an experienced apprentice for right now, and then we'll hire some additional apprentices for our residential.
Now, the licensing in Michigan, I'm always, as I'm I'm not a novice anymore, but I didn't come from the industry, right? So I'm always amazed. It's state by state. Everyone's got different city by city. It's always kind of crazy to me. But so in Detroit or Michigan, I'm not sure if it's statewide or city. What's the licensing like? Like, when can an apprentice, like in Texas, I believe it's after 2 years they can start doing certain jobs. Is that it? In Michigan, you cannot do that. You have to, after 4 years?
Yep. So you have to have 4 years of schooling and then
Yep.
8,000 hours of on-the-job training before you can go ahead and apply to take your journeyman's test.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So
It takes
you
about
really,
5 years to get your hours. It's about a 5 year.
yeah. Well, you're certainly well trained in Michigan. That makes a challenge though, trying to find someone that's a good communicator that's also has that much training. So
Yes. We actually have a full apprenticeship program here. Most of that is tailored to our commercial guys. We take them
sure.
normally out of high school. They're interested, so we take about anywhere from 5 to 8 a year. We have a apprentice coordinator who kind of backs up their schooling because they do schooling online through MSU. We back it up in-house here, and then we also, on-hands training here as well in our shop, and then in the field, they're constantly training.
That's fantastic. So I'm intrigued by this, working with the schools, because that's something we trying to, get more and more members to do is reach out to high schools, because there's lots of young people that fewer and fewer people are going to college because they go, why would I want to be $500,000 in debt by the time I'm 21 or 22? So, now your two electricians that are current, were they apprentices at one point, or were they from another company?
No, they're one's a master electrician and the other one's been an electrician for over 20 years. So
Okay, very good.
yeah,
Well, either way, so the
yeah.
season. So the apprentices, though, like, what are your apprentice recruiter? What types of young people are they looking for? Are they just looking for those certain, attributes or backgrounds? Maybe they're athletes, or just people that always were farm kids, or they like to take things apart. Well, how do you kind of identify, a young person that's actually going to do a good job?
Yeah, so we actually, all of those things. Sports are always great. The farm, working on a farm, two of our really highly thought of apprentices right now, they were farm kids, growing up. So all of those, but we're looking for, sometimes they're from the building trades. So they've been sent over here by their teacher saying, hey, you know what, we really think this guy's going to really work out for you. He's, been really good at class. He's taken 2 or 3 years. But we're looking for those core values. Do they have the morals? Do they have the communication? Do they have that work ethic that we think that they're going to have that work ethic? So we're looking for all of that. And then they actually spend about 4 to 6 months here in our shop, just learning how to have a job. What's that work ethic going to look like? Building stuff here in the shop for out in the field to get them, going and kind of get a feel for what it is to have a job. Because a lot of the kids are coming right from high school, so maybe they've been in sports, and so they've never had to, they have to be their sport on time, but they might not necessarily have to be at their job on time.
It's it's crazy. I've got two younger boys, and I worked as a kid and I played sports, but now sports is like a full-time job for these kids. So I definitely know what you're talking about. It's kind of crazy. But that's really neat. So who built out that program? Did that apprenticeship? You got 4 to 6, I think you said, months, right? Or so who built all that?
So we actually have an apprentice coordinator. He's been here a little over 20 years. So he used to be a foreman in our commercial side. And so when we started the program, he kind of facilitated the whole thing. He started he's got a full training program. He breaks them down per year. Like I said, in our slow time, which is usually the winter time, they come in here, they have classroom training once every week. He facilitates that and kind of walks them through the whole process and gets them ready to take that test.
That's neat. Now, does he do a lot of technical training with your other electricians, or is he pretty much just focused on the young folks?
Focusing on the apprentices. He might work with the journeyman to kind of go through how to train. Just checking in with them. How is training going? How is he doing, sort of thing.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Now you said you added the 3 new electricians. So I'm intrigued because it's a challenging thing adding technicians. I say technicians because it's not just electrical, plumbers. We know it's issues, HVAC, all that. Adding someone who has certain work habits and trying to introduce them to a certain way you want to do business. Now let's talk about their background a little bit. Were they residential electricians, or were they just good communicators that maybe came from commercial or industrial, or what's their backgrounds like?
All 3 of them are all residential. One has a little bit of service, but for the most part, all new construction.
Okay.
So
all right.
I think that's very valuable for them when they're going in for service. So that's very exciting. But with new construction, you don't have to have that communication with the customer either. So that's what we're working on right now. I'm very fortunate that they all seem to have very good communication skills, and they're open. They're open to learning the process.
It's funny. I've heard a lot of people that have success with the new construction guys because they know the work pretty well, but they don't have bad habits of running in and out of houses. And I got to do 8 houses a day, right? And burn through calls. So so for these 3 individuals, what's their onboarding process like? How do you kind of get them up to speed on how you want service delivered?
So the first week, what I did with these 3 gentlemen in particular, I sent them out with one of our guys. I sent them out in the field so they knew what they were, what was going to be expected of them and how the process worked. So when we would sit down, they would know what I was talking about. So then we came in, we do the videos on, on the hub. We do a lot of that. We talk about, your appearance, how to approach the customer, all of those things, the communication skills, teach them our software, because they're going to be expected to know that software. And we spent probably a good week or so together, going over the price book, pricing things. We give them different situations that they're going to find themselves in. And then we put them back out with our technicians now, and now they're going to be the lead. And so they're getting critiqued. All this week and all last week, we are doing skill training every morning. And so we're role playing.
Good for you.
They know it's very
I was going to say, yeah. Right.
But we're doing that. And they know that they have to have not only my approval, but they got to have the technician that they're with, that we feel comfortable putting them in the home, that they're going to communicate well. Until we get that approval, they got to work hard. They got to know our system. They have to learn what our memberships are, our warranties. They have to know all of that before they're going to get in their own truck. So
good for you. So you don't go, okay, in 3 weeks, you're just getting out there no matter what. You're
No, I put a deadline on it and say, you got to know it.
Yeah.
You got to know it.
Right.
You got to work hard. The faster you work hard, the faster you learn it, the harder you work to learn it, faster you're going to be in the truck by yourself.
Good for you. Good for you. So I guess part of that is learning how to build options, right? That's always the tricky thing, right? So, I mean, it's you're talking about that every day. It sounds like in training, they're seeing it in the field, and then they're going to be practicing. How have they been doing? They've been doing pretty well so far?
Yeah, they've been doing really well. I'm very happy with the progress that they're making, and I'm happy that they're open to it. They're open to learning something new. It's hard.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's great. It sounds like your 2 electricians that you have, they're open to being the trainers, right? And showing their ways. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people that won't necessarily do that. So it means they're pretty good guys too.
Yeah, they're great. They're absolutely great. And they welcome the growth. They're excited to see the growth, which is exciting too.
That's great. I gotta figure this out though. The math doesn't. You got 2 electricians and 2 trucks. You've got 3 new electricians. How is there two guys doubling up in one truck, or how are we working that out?
So I've been thankfully, I have one of the new guys who just got married, so he's been off for a few days. But I rotate him into our generator side, so they can see the process of a generator, and the communication's a little bit different, but they still have to learn that communication with the homeowner.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you queued this up beautifully. It's a good reason to pivot to generators. So big generator business. Talk about, just kind of share with everyone how you structure it. You shared it with me before we hit record. What is the kind of the org chart on the generator side look like? Maybe start with sales.
So we have 2 guys who are dedicated to sales. So they're going out and giving generator quotes to customers. One of them is a licensed electrician who can also double in as a generator installer, lead tech. So we require a licensed electrician as one of the head guys. And then we have 2 gas installers who are also licensed that do the gas lines for the installations. And then we also have 2 dedicated guys who are doing maintenance and repairs on all of our generators. Currently, we are super busy. And so we have a guy from the commercial side that is coming over and doing installs too. So we're doing 2 installs a day.
That's great. That's great. And you said something like, what, 700 generators you're monitoring?
We're monitoring 700. So what we have, and that's just what we're monitoring. And so what we're doing is Generac has a mobile app. So we monitor their generator, make sure it's working properly. If for some reason it goes in default mode, we go ahead and we contact the customer and let them know that we need to get a technician up to them.
Man, that's incredible. Well, so I'm always intrigued because there's just not a big generator business where I'm at. So, and I'm talking to a lot of electrical members. There's, it's not a huge common thing, right? Certain areas of the country there are. So where are your leads coming from? Is it just people going, I need a generator, or is it you guys, generating that need? Maybe when service calls, hey, have you ever thought of a generator? Where are the bulk of those coming from?
So we do try to cross sale, but I can tell you that the majority of it is referrals from other customers. Power outages will it'll just blow the phones up. Our power goes out here and it's for longer periods of time. And we had a couple storms where people were out for a whole week. So so we do run a commercial on our local network, as well as some of the Comcast or cable networks. We've been on, our local news station, in-house studio. Most of our leads probably come from Generac, I would say, themselves.
Okay.
Maybe them contacting Generac and saying, I need a generator, and then they'll forward them over to us. A little bit of everything.
Yeah. What's the average ticket on a generator?
We tell customers to expect anywhere from 12 to 15,000.
Yeah, so it's a significant investment.
Yeah.
Are a lot of those financed, or are mostly people still paying cash or credit cards, or what's your experience?
We're getting more people. I like to say there's not a ton of people that are doing financing. We've had a little bit of an uptick lately because we have the 18-month same as cash. Some people just want to use that. But for the majority, I would say check or credit card.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask if financing had been getting a little difficult just because of how rates have been, and I know just the economy's been a little rocky, but but the 18-month same as cash has been.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's still not the bulk of it. Still, it's people mostly paying.
Yeah. Our demographics are usually probably over 60. That's where, and so I feel like the older generation, they're writing checks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense for Jane too. I mean, just as someone who's had a parent that was on oxygen, for example, lose power, it's scary, so it's something you don't want to mess around with. And typically they do have money that they can purchase that additional safety. But I'll tell you though, we've had a lot of power. I'm in St. Louis. We've had a lot of power outages the last month. Now ours only lasts a day or two, but I've had a lot of friends throw away refrigerators full of food, and that's not a good feeling. So it's easy to stimulate that need for a generator if you deal with it enough, for sure. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to, they want to make sure that their well is going to run, their sub pump, they're not going to get flooded out, those types of things. So, yeah, or their garage door, just trying to, the older generation, they still need the garage door to get out of their house sometimes.
For sure. Now, are you guys running a lot of competition up in your part of northern Detroit? Like, are you getting people like, okay, I got a bid from you, I really want to get a bid from a couple more companies, or have you guys established yourselves as really a generator?
I think we're established. I know we have competition. I think we run into our competition here and there. I think we kind of stay on opposite sides for the most part. But I do expect people to get more than one quote. I definitely, with that big ticket item like that.
Yeah. So
we do have a follow-up process that we make sure that we follow.
Good.
But more people seem to be buying on site than they have been. The need is there. They want to go, right away with us.
Yeah. How fast can you get a generator installed? Say I buy it from you today. What's typically the lag time?
So right now, because of our booking schedule, we are booking in the middle of October. So in a little bit of a luck. Yeah. But if we could that's with us installing 2 a day. If our goal is to do 4 a day. So I'm just looking for those licensed electricians right now, and we can get them on board. We'll be closer to, 2 to 4 weeks.
Right. Have you dealt with a lot of cancellation issues because of that? Or people they're patient, they know, generators is something you need every week for sure, but, or not had any cancellations?
No, not because of time frame. I think that the competition is the same way. I think that I don't think that we're any more lead time than anybody else is. I actually think we have a better lead time right now.
Okay, that's great. Now, you said you have a follow-up process, right? So if someone goes, Mrs. Jones just wants to think about it because there's a lot of money, and maybe she didn't expect that. So what's your follow-up process like to keep that lead hot?
Yeah, so we expect the sales guys, they're going to follow up. They have to follow up with their leads within 3 business days, calling and just making sure the customer didn't have any other questions, if they wanted to proceed with it, what we could do for them to get them started. And then after that, they turn that into the office. And then our office staff will write a handwritten note thanking them, and for considering us, give us a call back. And then if we have any promos or anything going on, we'll reach out to those customers again if they haven't purchased, just to find out if, that's something that they want to go ahead and go with.
Very good. You also mentioned you had 2 repair technicians, right? Repair maintenance technicians on the generator side. How busy are they? I mean, do you get a lot of service calls? Like, an I think of it, generators kind of like HVAC. A lot of they're doing maintenances and they're doing small repairs. Is that a pretty active part of the business?
Definitely. So we do generator maintenances. Generac requires that we do maintenance once a year. So we have that, continuing once a year. As we're doing more generators, we're getting busier on the maintenance side. And then, of course, on the repairs, if there's a power outage, all of a sudden, that's where we get a lot of new customers too. That they,
Yeah.
You have someone out, the generator's not working, and then we pick up a maintenance after that, and then just add them to, to our yearly maintenance.
Yeah. What's the lifespan of a generator typically in your marketplace? So again, I'm thinking HVAC, you got a maintenance tech that goes, oh man, we got a 12-year-old generator here that looks like it's about ready to croak. I mean, you have a lot of that where you're flipping leads on older generators, or so you guys haven't been doing all that long, right? So 13.
Yeah. There's not, it really depends on if you take care of it. If you take care of it, you get the maintenance that it needs. It could run for 20 years. And then if you don't maintain it, it's, depends on the hours too, of how much it's running. But if you don't maintain it, it might only last 10 years.
Right.
So it just really depends on if you're maintaining it and keeping, care of it. There's always those things. It's a motor. So it's not, those things are going to happen where it's just going to need repairs too.
For sure. So it's just, Generac notifies you that there's an issue, or you have those, like you said, you have scheduled maintenances they have to have, right? Or Generac asks, I guess, to keep the warranty, right? They've got to get those done. So
we take care of our own clients. So we have them on a program with us that we contact them when they're due at their 1 year. If for some reason someone doesn't have somebody to maintain their generator, they can always call Generac and get a dealer in their area, and then that would be when they would recommend us to come out and do either their repair or maintenance.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting to. You answered it for me. You're outbounding those clients. Is it just phone calls? You send a postcard? How do you kind of? Because I know I'm a busy homeowner. You got kids and stuff, and it's easy to go, I'll push off that, that tune-up or that maintenance, whatever you want to call it. And so how do you stay in front of those people? Regular phone calls every week, a couple weeks?
Yep. So what we do is when you're the month before that you're actually due and it's the same thing for our club memberships on our residential side. We send out an email to you letting them know that you're due for service. Give our office a call, and then about a week later, we'll go ahead and we make 2 follow-up phone calls, and if we still haven't heard back from you or gotten in touch with you, we'll send you out a postcard.
Okay, very good. There you go. And I mean, you have a pretty good success rate in getting in front of those people, taking care of their equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's great. I mean, you'd think so if you're spending that much money on it.
Yeah.
You would do that, but hey, I'll tell you. HVAC systems, people don't do it. They just take it for granted, hot and cold coming. But anyways, that's interesting.
Support for this podcast comes from Angie. Angie is one of the largest home services marketplaces that connects qualified service professionals to project-ready homeowners. With over 25 years of experience and a network of more than 250,000 pros, we have helped more than 150 million people with their home needs. For service professionals, we are the source for everything from new customers and revenue streams to reviews, payments, and perks. With homeowners today investing more than ever, countless projects need a pro to take them on. We make the connection.
So you talked about your club membership on the electrical side. That's great that you guys do that. I know that's something we struggle with getting a lot of electrical members to do because they, showing the value. So talk about your club membership. What is what are the warranties like? What are the big benefits you guys sell on that?
So currently, I think we have almost close to 400 members. So our guys do a really nice job at that. Yeah, I tell them, please do not let customers be the first thing that you hear out of mouth is the discounts. We want to make sure that we're talking about the priority service, the double the warranty, the whole house safety inspection. We want to build that value, and then that extra discount is just an added benefit.
That's right. That's great. So how you guys manage those? That's a lot of homes you're getting to every year. Is it the same situation like with your generators? You're just calling out, or Is there, you like the, you said winter slows down. Is that when you're doing a lot of your inspections?
So same process. We're sending that email, 2 follow-ups and a postcard. And then I always tell the guys that when if they're in a repeat customer's home and they are we call them MAP, Metro Advantage Plan members, to make sure, are they getting ready to renew within the next month or so? Take care of it then, bring that up to them and see if we can take care of that. Otherwise, we do on our slower periods, we do try to fill the time if we can.
Now, are those annual memberships, or do you do the perpetual?
No, we do annual.
Annuals.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So they close it out there. And I guess that your guys have done a good job about doing the complete inspections and the forms and educating people about their electrical system.
100%. Yeah. They do a really nice job of going over the membership itself and then going back out and doing the renewal process.
Have you found those club members, those average tickets are typically a little higher than new customers, or what's your experience been?
I would say, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think last month, like 60% of our calls were repeat customers. So
Great.
yeah, our calls really are repeat customers and referrals. That's our biggest volume of calls that come in. So, I would say, yeah, 50, I would say, yeah, probably 50-50 on the tickets.
Okay, very good. Well, yeah, call generation is a big thing. I know we have a lot of members in certain markets are slowed down this year. Not everyone's at home all the time anymore, breaking everything like we had with the post-COVID world. So I know you mentioned it earlier. You were on a TV show or something. So I guess you're doing some television advertising then?
Yeah, so we actually were asked by our local channel here to come in studio and bring a generator. So we went in and it kind of talked a little bit about a generator, why have a generator, a little bit about how it works and what the process is to do an install. And, we went down there and did that.
That's neat. So that's not a situation where were you advertising on that channel, or do they just know you as a generator people and that's how you got that out?
We were doing some advertisement on their channel. For the most part, they kind of reached out to our rep. They were interested in generators, and they actually reached out to us, to be honest. So
that's great. Even better. Yeah. Even better. How has call? I mean, you're adding 3 electricians. I'm assuming call volume's still been pretty steady on the service side.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out where that's going to go, though. I know I got to ramp it up a little bit, so I just kind of have to look at where to ramp it up. So, but we're pretty steady right now.
Yeah. So I was going to say, are you doing? Is it just PPC and SEO, or what have you guys traditionally done to generate new business?
So PPC, I really haven't done SEO. We did that for a little bit, and then it kind of faded off. So I think I'm going to start looking into that. Yeah. We are with Angie Leads, so we have that. We don't do any home advisor anymore, but mostly PPC, I would say. And then, of course, our local advertisement on our cable networks, and that's mostly geared towards our generator. Okay. We do a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram. We do a monthly e-blast to our current customers and new customers.
Yeah, I was doing some research. And your social channels look great. Whoever does that for you does a really nice job. All the posts look really professional. It brands you really well. On the cable advertising, so it's generators mostly. Is it certain channels, certain times of day, or do you just kind of have a mix?
So when we kind of bought from March all the way to October, because that's really our busiest season, our storm season is what I call it. But yeah, it's more geared. We do look at the demographics, the older demographics. We do, like the HGTV, the golf channel, history channel, those kinds of things. So we do look at that.
That's great. That's great. So let's just kind of want to circle back to your electricians, your service electricians, because obviously that's we are mostly service at certain path. We talked about the onboarding. The next step of onboarding is regular training. So you've got the 2 gentlemen that you're established electricians, and you've got obviously your 3 that you're onboarding. Do you guys routinely have like team meetings to go over kind of the soft skill communication stuff, going over tickets? Is that something you regularly do?
Yep. So our residential team meets on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that can consist of going over jobs, looking at pictures. Maybe one of the guys, came across something that we all need to kind of take a look at and know for the future. We look at tickets, those kinds of things. Our generator team meets 2 days a week as well. And then on Fridays, we all meet as a group. And I call them our fun Fridays. There's no negativity on those Fridays. No one can complain. And that's just a fun time that we communicate and maybe celebrate some wins, some reviews. We have a wheel that we might spin. And then, of course, our whole office, including our office staff and our guys in the field, we all meet once a month to go over our goals, where we're at for the year, any individual goals and, rewards. And we try to do something fun, some team bonding during that time.
That's great. The wheel, what's the wheel for? Club memberships sold, certain number of average tickets.
So the wheel on a weekly basis, that is really, it's a wheel, and it might have something like, who was your favorite customer for the week? What good deed did you do or witness this week? Something along those lines. It's just kind of a icebreaker, how the week went. And then there's some prizes on there too. And then for our monthly, yes, we do, the girls in the office, if they hit their booking percentages, the guys in the field, if they hit their their monthly ticket numbers, sometimes I'll throw out some good stuff, like whoever gets the most reviews by name this year or this month will get something extra.
Oh, that's
changing.
Yeah, for sure. I like that you have stuff for the office. You put it out there as well. When you're talking, goals and stuff, say at the monthly meeting, you call booking percentage, certain number of tickets run. What are some other things you guys really highlight? Or is that primarily it?
Well, the guys and also the sales guys, they have a goal of where their booking percentages for the generator sales. We also highlight where we were last year versus where we are this year, so everybody can see that growth. We take a look at what our goals were at the beginning of the year, where we're at on those goals. We have a certain amount of generators that we want to sell. We take a look at those. But mostly it's about, maybe we watch a video and we talk about, this month was mindset. We want to make sure everybody's in the right mindset. And then sometimes we do a fun game.
That's fun. Are you the person that's kind of watching the tickets as they come in? Because it's still smaller, the service especially, just to make sure options are being offered, clubs are being offered. I mean, that's the core basics of growing that side. Is that your responsibility, or who?
Yeah, so I'm watching all the residential service techs. I'm watching to see, what they did for the day. Make sure, I'm looking for pictures. I want to see what they did. I'm looking at their tickets, their average tickets, make sure they got their material, what options were, offered versus what was accepted. And if we have to do any follow-ups on them.
That's great. Now, if you don't have to get specific, do you guys do hourly, or is it a piece rate, in terms of pay structure for your service technicians?
So our service division, they are hourly, and then they are portion commission based. So they get a certain percentage.
That's great. Okay. Because it's always, everyone wants to know, how do you keep them motivated to run all those calls and everything. And I was going to say, what are they doing on average? 3 calls a day, 2 calls a day? What do you guys?
Anywhere between 1 and 3. I have guys who will sell that first job and they're not leaving, for the day. So, and then other guys, it just depends. And if it's one of our members, sometimes those don't take as long because exactly what you're going in for. So those calls sometimes are two calls a day.
Sure. Now, who's that magic person, dispatcher, that manages that schedule and go, oh boy, yes, Joe's going to be there all day. I got to start pivoting. Who's that individual on your team?
So that's Katie, and she's been here, like I said, she's been here about 8 years, almost 8 years. And so she's really good at customer service, and we're trying to see what she can do with that dispatching. So she gets that role. She has to, and it's a hard role. It's so difficult to call customers and, hey, we're not going to make it, or, we got to reschedule you, but she does a really nice job at it.
Do you guys try and look at maybe at the end of the day about the day ahead and go, oh boy, what jobs are really going to last long? And maybe we got to call the day before versus, the day of is a hard call. You're at the customers at the house. That's how you get upset people. How do you kind of try and manage that the day before to avoid those?
So we try to look ahead a little bit. It's hard because you want them to focus on that job. And I always tell the guys, I prefer you to stay at one job for the whole day, to be completely honest with you. I want you to maximize that job. And they do a good job at that. And so I think it opens us up a little bit more with 5 technicians that other techs can take other things. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier. But we do try to look ahead as much as we can. And, sometimes we got to make those calls, and they're hard calls sometimes. But we just make sure that they're a hard schedule for the next day or whatever is doable for that.
Do you just waive a service fee? I mean, if someone's really hot, I mean, how do you try it?
Yeah, if someone's really upset, we definitely will waive that service fee. No questions asked.
Very good. Well, excellent. Well, Kristina, I've taken so much of your time. I just want a few more. It sounds like you guys have a really strong culture there. Everyone enjoys being around. You've got good energy. You're smiling a lot when you talk about your team. So I can tell you love what you do. So what's how do you built this family, this work family? Is it just getting together regularly, and learning about people? Do you do a lot of one-on-ones with your team? I mean, how have you fostered that? 'Cause that's so difficult for a lot of business.
It is. I think it's taking interest in them. I know I can be hard a lot of the times, but I think that they know that it comes from a good place. So I think, taking interest in them, their families, getting together, having that energy. I try to stay positive. Things, obviously everybody has those days, right? But I always say that there's always something to smile about. There's always, there's just something to be exciting about. I get excited because I like and love seeing the growth, and I hope that they do too. I do office one-on-ones with the girls here in the office every week. 20 minutes, we sit down. It's their time. There's some things that I want to go over, but it's really their time first. So I think that's how I try to keep, that relationship with them. The guys, I try to see them every single morning, and I do try to see them when they get back. And if not, I at least want to touch base with them somehow, some way.
That's great. So they come in the morning and they come in at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
I know a lot of people that do remote dispatching, and I get it. You're in a big, heavy, dense population, and but there's something about seeing people's body language in the morning and in the evening. Maybe you can try and handle something before someone goes 0 for 2 on service calls. Something happened.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it makes it.
Someone had a hard day, and maybe they need a little extra, talking, just talking through the problem, or how was your day, or tell me about that. How did that go? And sometimes they just need to vent a little bit.
Absolutely. And with how, especially where you guys are, how difficult it is to get electricians, it's like you'd much rather if they're upset at a company for some reason, whether it's really your fault or not, is sometimes you're to blame just because you're the boss. But it's easier just to have that conversation early and try and diffuse it and go, let them know they're valued, and instead of them just starting to call around other places. They're so valuable.
Yes, I really try to make myself open to everybody that, that they feel comfortable coming and vent, just if there are, like you said, if they got something on your mind, I want to know about it, because I want to make sure that we talk about it, and, if we can fix it and make it right, or at least just talk through it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Just how has SGI Certain Path supported you guys over the last handful of years, and what kind of difference has that been to the business, especially on the residential side?
Well, we've had Sonia as a coach for, since, day one. We just, I've never really leaned in. I will say that I'm not a big leaner in, or having to, lean in for help. So I haven't done that, but that's my goal. My goal is now I got some guys I need to lean in, but man, Certipath's been great for networking. I tell everybody that is the best, absolutely the best. To just run ideas by, other people and get ideas through them. The straightforward pricing, get all of it. All of it's great. Just utilize it. That's my biggest thing, is we just need to utilize it more. And I've already told Sonia, get ready, because I'm leaning in.
Good. She's a good resource for it. I mean,
Great.
She's something else. The amount of respect I have for her, the amount of knowledge she has. She's technical. She knows the business side. She's just a tremendous coach. But you're right. The networking, I love going to Expo just to see everybody, because there's so many positive people. I love learning what they're doing in their businesses, and someone's doing something unique. That's interesting. Maybe we'll try it. maybe we'll talk about that at an expo on my side, bringing up ideas to present at the future expos. And I'm sure that's where you guys think of stuff to do, right? It's just that chit chat and that in the hallways goes a long way.
Yeah, it goes. So, that's a big component of expo is just
Sure.
the networking itself. Yeah.
100%. All right. In totally wrapping up. So where do you see the business in 5 to 10 years? Have you guys sat down strategically and go, okay, we want to get to 10 service electricians and we want to grow the generator business and, to $10 million or what do you get? Where do you think you'll end up in the next 5 to 10?
I'm hoping to double. I really want to double where we're at now. I want to add some managers and some growth and put the right people in the right spot. And I'm excited. I'm excited. And I'm just so excited to see the growth portion of it. So hopefully doubling. That's where I'd love to see it.
Yeah, well, three more electricians. That could easily happen here. So I'm very excited to see how things progress, and I'll be sure to ask you at the next couple expos. So, well, very good. Well, Kristina, thank you so much for all your time today. I appreciate your patience in trying to figure all the technical stuff out earlier, and this was just a real fun conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Support for this podcast comes from HD Supply. At HD Supply, our job is helping you do yours. We are uniquely positioned to help drive your business through unrivaled access to professional-grade plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products and innovative business solutions such as our Stockwise inventory management program, fully customizable to meet your needs and improve productivity. Our national network of distribution centers and more than 2,200 store locations nationwide provide a national reach with a local focus, providing unmatched convenience and product availability. We power pros to do more. The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the Certain Path family. Certain Path builds successful home service businesses and has for 23 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of over 1,000 contractors just like you. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With Certain Path, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com for more information.